You are alive. Check 1, 2. Hey, everybody. This is Ari with my live stream on rhythm today. Am I live? YouTube, please check in with me. Facebook, please check in with me. Can you hear me? Check 1, 2. Give me a quick comment, everybody, please, so I know we're live. Thank you, James. Looking forward to learning. Fantastic. Over the years, I have taught a lot of students, and we've had thousands of people in our courses and reading my book. And so I got to see, because a lot of our courses incorporate video recordings, and I get to see students practice besides lots of students that I've taught one-on-one. So this is an experience that I was aware of, but I couldn't really pinpoint it until I saw the videos. And this is what I mean. So we learn about scales and we learn about shapes on the fretboard and we do all these things we got to learn. But then I would ask people to improvise, and there will be a backing track and there's some sort of a concept. Okay, this is the shape we're working on. How's the bass coming through, by the way? Let me know if the bass is coming through. Thank you, YouTube. I can be heard. Thank you, Facebook. Listening on my drive home. Hey, Micah, drive safe. And I'm just let me know how the bass sounds, please. Can you hear this? Santa Monica. Oh, I love that place. I love that place. I'm responding to comments from YouTube and Facebook and different places, folks. So maybe you can only see part of what I'm responding to. But what I was gonna say, bass is bassy, loud and clear. Okay, we can probably fix this. I'm gonna just add this here to here. Okay. So too much low end. I can fix that. That'll be a little better. Let me know. And so I saw all these wonderful videos of students working on shapes and working on triads and working on their arpeggios and their scales and all of that stuff. And because that's how I love teaching anything to do with music theory, we use it to improvise. We use it to improvise. And I started to notice that they were doing the theory parts perfectly, a complete understanding of the chords, of the chromaticism, of the diatonics, of whatever it is we were working on. But they would drop a beat here and there, and they would add a beat here and there, and they would just set in this kind of general confusion often, where they knew something was off, but kind of couldn't pinpoint it. And so I started to really look at that and started testing people and just trying some things. And it really became clear to me that the problem oftentimes is rhythm. And rhythm is tricky because it's like one of those things where people might tell you, well, you either have it or you don't. I've heard a lot of people say that. And it's not true. Here's what happens with rhythm. You have to feel rhythm in your body. It's okay to count your way into understanding, let's say, a written outline with a bunch of 16th notes and syncopations and ties and what have you. You want to count it out. You go 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E, stuff like that. It's fine to count it out. But if you have it up here, it's not going to happen in your body. And in your body is where you need it. You need to have some sort of a unit inside you that feels like a little metronome. And the body is full of rhythm, heartbeat, breath, hormone cycles, dyadic rhythms. So circadian rhythms is how you say it. Circadian rhythms. So the body is full of rhythm. Our physiology knows rhythm, right? So to take the body, the feeling of musical rhythm into the body is such a natural thing to us. Just think of dancing, right? So that's, I think, what needs to be trained. If you sometimes feel like when you're playing, you're losing it. And so I started really looking at this, and I'm very influenced by an Austrian rhythm researcher, you could say. His name is Reinhard Flatischler. He has a method called Taketina, which is some sort of a rhythm meditation. And I used to go to classes with him. It's fascinating, and people who get certified by him. But I've trained with him as well. And it's a fascinating methodology. And when I used to be in the Bay Area, there were lots of people getting certified in the method. So you could go to all these practitioners getting their hours and doing their fulfilling their requirements for their tests, and they would sit, you can imagine like a big room, about 50, 100 people sometimes, person with a big sordo drum in the middle doing like a heartbeat, ka-dum, you know, and everybody around in a circle. And then the leader would have a berimbau, which is a Brazilian percussion instrument that's used in martial arts. It's a very piercing sound. It's played with a stone. It has a gourd that makes it really loud. So with that, the facilitator gives a rhythm. And without going into too much detail, what this does, I had one illuminating moment when I was in one of those classes. And that was, imagine a group of 100 people, you know, in a room, and we would often start with just left and right, you know, like a binary rhythm, go like this, and the sort of drum in the middle, and the facilitator, you know, slowly starting to build a rhythm, and we would go left and right, and that's binary, and then you start with the 3 on top, right? You go, for example, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now my legs, I'm going left and right, right? I'm just stepping. So you already have 3 against 2, which is complex, right? It's a polyrhythm. Okay, then we would do that, and then we would start chanting, and the facilitator in the middle with the loud berimbau, they would give us all sorts of go, la la go, la la go, la la ba, and we would chant it after. And this would build for a long time, you know. So imagine like half an hour, you get into this weird trance, and you lose it sometimes, and there's somebody bumping into you, so you get it back immediately. And you're just really entranced, and you're chanting these complex rhythms. And there was one moment, I'll never forget that. The facilitator did all this complex stuff, and we were like, we're nailing it, you know, and it's just trancing on these rhythms and chanting. And all of a sudden she would go 1, 2, 3, 4. And the whole room crumbled. It was unbelievable. It was like you took the needle off the record on the record player. And so we were all like completely flabbergasted. We were, why? And she said, different brain half. And that just really convinced me that there is something going on, that when we have numbers and, you know, analytical thinking going on, not to say it doesn't have its place, it most certainly does. But if we want to be able to improvise using rhythms, then we have to have them in our bodies. And so I started hunting down the road of, you know, how to help people with rhythm. And I tried syllables for a long time. You know, there's the Indian rhythm system, Takadimi. There's conical. There's so many different modalities how to use chanting. And I just found that for a lot of people, those syllables were a little bit strange. So I started using words. I remember David Parker, if you're watching, good buddy of mine, drummer, I played in the band with for many years. One day he just so casually said, weed whack a butterfly, like as if he was practicing rhythms. And I was like, wait a minute, there's something there. And then I went all the way with it. That was in 2019 or something, sometime there. No. That was way earlier. Gosh, 2016. I got to look what it says on my rhythm sheet. That's when I first came up with this. So I started coding rhythms as words. And to make a long story short, I realized there are 16 shapes. You learn the 16 shapes. You learn them with words. There are some shapes that you can write different ways, but first we want to learn the shapes. So I teach the shapes. It's like a method that I've built over quite a few years. And you start with just the words. You start with just the rhythms. Then you start improvising using the bass. And by using the words, you are still in your body somehow, right? So my question to you, I'm talking a lot. My question to you, what has your experience been with rhythm? Can you relate to any of what I'm saying here? Let me catch up on the comments here. There are lots of them. I have difficulty unifying rhythmic exercises and melodic exercises. Absolutely. Will be good to tie some rhythm exercises into the pattern system. You know, they are there. There is a, we're doing quite a bit with rhythm actually in the pattern system. So that's all baked in there, so to speak, even though I don't lay it out like I do it in the rhythm method, but it is in there. Most certainly. Ellie is asking, can you spell the method? Sure thing. Ta-ke-ti-na. If you have practitioners in your area, all over the world, if you have practitioners all over the world who are offering this, jump on it. And it's so funny. You then see all the musicians in the bathroom, right? They're trying to count it out. They go 1, 2, 3. They're trying to make sense of it in their minds, which again has its place. But there's also a place where, gosh, some of the stuff was so complex that we did, and it was just automatic on an autopilot and just chanting and not thinking. And that is a healthy place to be, you know? So I just put it in the chat. The name of the gentleman who developed this is Reinhard Flatischler. I have long lost touch with that group, but his book, Secret Power of Rhythm, I believe, is I highly recommend. It's just very interesting. You know, I'm not saying you have to run out and run this method, but get rhythm in your body. That's my message to you. So what kind of conical is another one? Yes, that's great, done with kids. Orff method also has a lot of rhythm in it. So if any of you have children and there's a music together group or an Orff group or conical groups, put them in there. Kodai is what I mean. Conical is the Indian rhythm system. Kodai. I'll spell that too, because that is not spelled how it sounds. Kodali is how it's spelled, but it's said Kodai, a gentleman from Hungary who developed that. All of these methods, they are a lot of Kodai and Orff is geared towards kids. And if you learn this at an earlier age, I mean, it's like learning a second language at an early age, right? You just soak it up a little bit in a different way than you do with an adult, but not to say at all that as an adult, you cannot do it just the same. Rob Smith is on the call. Good to see you, buddy. Rob Smith is currently teaching rock riffs on our platform. So a lot of our students are enjoying that as we speak. It is frustrating that I can play a song in 5/4 or 7/8, but I can't count those times. You know what a trick is for polyrhythms? I know exactly what you mean, it's Seth. See if you can break them down into rhythms that are familiar. For example, a 2, a binary, like a 5 could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Or like a 7, like one of my teachers used to joke, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. Of course, that's not a 7, right? But it's just anything you can do to not go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but to go bum 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 bum, right? That is I think helpful, because your body knows the 2 and your body knows the 3. So you go into one mode and then you go into the other mode, right? So I did want to tell you that story just because of how important I find it is to get rhythm in your body, and how using words is what I love doing. So I am currently teaching a rhythm matrix course. As a matter of fact, the first group who ever started right after Christmas, and they're having their final today. Big test. Not, we have fun. But they get to perform today, and they get to make us guess which rhythms they're doing. So we've built it over 10 weeks, and I have a new one of these starting. So I wanted to tell you about that. Starting on the 17th, I got a level 1 starting, and I got a level 2 starting. I am hopefully broadcasting down there where you can find the information. I'm going to actually put that into my into the chat as well, so you have it. But it's a class that goes over 10 weeks, and we have, here it is. I think that's coming through to all channels. We first learn the matrix, as I like to do. I like you to answer the questions. I'm not just going to spoon feed it to you. I want you to figure out those 16 shapes. I have a very simple method how to do that. Then we find the 16 shapes. Again, there are ways of writing them in various ways. So for now, we just go with the simplest one, because you got to start somewhere. And then we practice them. We feature them in songs. We find them in context, and then we learn them. And yeah, that was the first 10 weeks. So that 10-week class is coming to conclusion, was very, very popular. We had a lot of attendees. And the second part will do a lot of practice, go a little bit more into syncopation, which we kind of didn't get to in this class, but we'll get to syncopation, a couple of tricks to use for reading. And I hope that we will get a little bit into the ternary world now, because the first 10 weeks is just, I call it the funky binary. So it's all divided into 4. And actually, let's do just a very simple exercise here. This is tempo. Let's do 60, okay? Now here, is the beat. Okay, so if you divided that, I said ternary. What I mean by ternary, that's shuffle, swing, that sort of thing, right? So leave that aside for now. This is all the binary world. So we divide everything into equal parts. So if you have this as a beat, and this is oftentimes how I see that rhythm is the problem. You know, if this has ever happened to you, that you try to play something and you have in your mind what it's going to sound like, but then the song starts and you are just confused. You just don't know where to go, and you're sort of feeling you're off, but you don't know where. And that is because you don't have the subdivision in your mind. So before you even start playing, this is the click, right? So maybe the drummer who counts you off. But what you need to learn to hear is the inherent subdivision of whatever the smallest value is. This could be the smallest value. It's just quarter notes and eighth and half notes and whole notes. Could be, but it could also be more likely that there's something in there in between. So here's how I help people just very basically find the rhythm. You just do this. Just naturally tap with the rhythm along as it goes. And if I were really accurate, you couldn't even hear the click, but I'm talking, so cut me some slack. Okay, so you do that. You just hit it with the rhythm, right? And then you take the other hand, and there is your eighth note, right? So now you're already dividing it in two, and I'm telling you, you can trust your body. I have very, very rarely seen somebody who would do something like, you know, it just doesn't happen. Our body likes symmetry. Our body likes a groove. Ever since we were little babies, they have done, you know, the soothing little movement with us. So there's something about the symmetry. You don't want to rock a baby like that, right? So you can trust your body to know this. So again, you just start with that. And then you just say the word polytonic, 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 polytonic. I know it's a weird word, but I really thought about the heavy syllables. It's the O sounds, okay? So there's a method to this. And you just get a tiny little snippet out of it today. But so you would just say polytonic, polytonic. And all you need to pay attention to is where the O sounds are. Polytonic, 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 right? So keeping that in mind, your language now divides it even more, right? Because I was doing one and that was the eighth note. But now I do polytonic, so what am I doing? Folks, what is my smallest rhythmic value that I have? What's my smallest rhythmic value when I say that? Polytonic. Polytonic, 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 polytonic. So it's 16th notes, right? I'm dividing it by 4. And I am telling my students, I make a big deal out of it. I remember in the rhythmic class, right, where we're getting ready for our final big test, which really is just fun. But as we were getting ready for not just fun, we get to guess, and there will be a winner. But as we are, you know, working all these things out, I tell them the first thing you got to do is calibrate the subdivision, because you're going to start off on the wrong foot. Look, here's another thing that I see a lot. I'm going to demonstrate it. Let's see how you can hear this. 16th notes. Yes. Hey, Magnus is on the call. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for tuning in. I got a track for you. Can you all hear that track? Let me know if you can hear the track. Can you all hear that track? Let me know, folks. Crank that a little bit on your end and on mine. Let me know if you can hear the track. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a polytonic, 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 polytonic. So what I would tell my students, if we had an assignment, for example, we wanted to do some rhythm, I don't know, making it up. Let's say that's the rhythm. I can hear it. Okay, thank you, guys. Track sounds great too. Love it. Thank you all. So the first thing I want people to do is to hear the subdivision, because this is what I see people do a lot. And if you have rhythmic problems, listen if that's you. I'm going to try to do this with just quarter notes. Okay, so I'm really making a clear point. Here's the beat, and then they go. What's happening here is, and a lot of people have that, I can even demonstrate this with the click. Make this a little faster. So let's say that's the click, and your duty is to just play quarter notes, right? They wait for the click and then they play. Okay, that is a little bit distrusting your inner clock, right? So you obviously don't want to wait for the click and then play, right? Otherwise, you'll always be chasing it. So you want to be on the click. And that's such a great drill. This is tempo 84. All you do is to try to kill the click. And what I mean by killing the click is that there's one sound, not two. Not like a rim shot, like a flam, I guess you call it. Flam. So there's one is before the other, right? But a lot of people have the tendency to wait for the click and then play. I've also seen the opposite, that you would go play and then hear the click, right? So I play and then hear the click. Okay, then I hear the click, right? You want, if that's you, it's not a big deal. Don't knock yourself. Nobody has just ever shown you how to fix that. So what you do is you just take a minute every day, put on a tempo between 60 and 80, I find good. Don't go slower than 60 because then it's almost hard to get a groove going. There are great drills, awesome drills for making the click super slow or taking out beats and all sorts of stuff for timing drills. We're just going really basic, finding your inner rhythm so that you can feel the subdivision as you play. It's great for your groove. It's great for your confidence. It helps you feel the rhythm. And my sensation for rhythm is kind of like, it's as if like you're building up a tension per bar, right? It goes up and fresh, up and fresh, up and fresh. And then after the fourth time, it's like, do you remember all these old typewriters when you got to the end, you had to go ka-ching, right? You had to like pull a lever and it would go to the new line, right? And then you build it up again. So there's something that happens in my body. And if nobody has ever showed you that, you've never paid attention to it, you're just kind of knowing, understanding what it should like, but kind of can't make it happen. These drills are absolute gold. And again, all I'm doing, you know, when I'm going here, Willie is here too. Gosh, hi fam. I've seen all my buddies here. Thanks for tuning in. So, you know, I'm just listening, and somewhere there's gonna be a subdivision, right? Polytonic, 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 polytonic. Now, if you say a couple of polytonics before you actually start, you're going to feel much, much better. But a lot of people, they just go clock and counting in and, you know, try to get it and are ahead of their ahead, behind, waiting for the click, chasing the click, something to that effect. And that's not going to lead you down the path you want to go. And if you never fix that, you can get to be a really high level player and have starts and fits of that. You know, and it's awful when it happens because it's like this general confusion and you don't know how to help yourself. Well, now you have a trick. Polytonic, 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 polytonic. And then all you're doing is you're either playing a po or a li or a to or a nick, right? Or not. But when you don't, you hear it inside your body. Let me know if there are any questions about this. Also, can you do this as a mentor seminar on SBL as well? Oh, yeah, sure. It's big, you know, I'm giving you bits and pieces. I can give bits and pieces, but the comprehensive bit is what you want. So it's hard to kind of do it in an hour. I have a book coming out on this, by the way. So rhythm, feeling rhythm in your body, getting to sense it. I wanted to show you, tell you the story about how that really clicked for me, that rhythm needs to be in the body. And then my next step is to just talk about shapes or think about shapes. There's 16 shapes you got to know. Over half of them is super easy. Like, for example, I'll show you one and you guys are going to tell me which one it is. I've already talked about it today. It's one of the 16 shapes. It's the only one that has only one note in it. No, that's actually not true. There's 4 of them that have only one note in it, but one note on the down. Oh, Ed, that's a great question. Keeping time and singing. I'll talk about that in a second. What's that? Who's going to win? YouTube or Facebook? Let's see. YouTube or Facebook? Who's going to win? YouTube or Facebook? What did I just play in terms of rhythmic values? And I'm not so much concerned with my note length because I could phrase this. I mean, if we're talking phrasing, I could phrase this in so many different ways I could go. Or I could phrase it like this. I could phrase it like this. I could phrase it like this. So I just kept them quarter notes. Ton. Hey, Mahazy. I'm laughing because she's in my course, and that is the word I have for the quarter note. Yes, ton. So we have fun because my words are kind of goofy and fun. So that's ton in my system. And yes, it is the quarter note. Well done, Zen. Jeff. The metronome. Oh, yeah. Somebody asked about my metronome. I love this metronome. They don't make it anymore. Where did I put it? They don't make it anymore. It's the KDM2 of Cork. If you go to my respaceblock.com resources section, I put a link of what the follow-up model is of this. I sometimes see this one still floating out there for like $80 or something crazy. Because people sell them. But I love this one because it has a big button. It has a nice, pleasant sound. You know, I like wood tones. I don't like beepy tones. A wood tone, when you look at the sound wave, is like a mountain and a valley. It's like a peak, right? If you have these beepy tones that sometimes, you know, smartphones and such have, is beep. It's a longer thing. So I don't have that much precision. Now, I really love this metronome. I also love it because I can tell students how to dial in their subdivisions. It plays a couple of tricks. Like, for example, you can get a downbeat. So if you have your fiver there, Seth, then you can have it help you out with the red light whenever the downbeat comes and that sort of thing. And you also can put it to, you can even set it to the clave, which is nice, or you can set it polytonic, 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 right? So you can set the subdivision when you're practicing that. It's actually really nice, you know, to practice something like this. And then take that out and then do it without that and still hear it in your mind. I can still hear the ting, 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 ting. So you can, you know, you can cultivate the inner hearing while you are using the subdivision. Then you take it out and you try to still hear it inside, because you have to hear it inside. To always have the subdivision blast at you. First of all, it's fatiguing. This ding, 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 constantly, right? It's fatiguing. But you can use it to get yourself used to hearing it inside. So I hope that makes sense. Beepy tones drive me nuts. Yeah, me too. I always feel like an alarm is going off or something. So yeah, so it's a KDM2. They have a follow-up model that's called KDM3, I think. You can find all that info on my respaceblock.com/resources, I think, or there's a resources tab up on top. So I was talking about shapes, right? So when you have simple rhythmic shapes, to work with. And this is just jumping a bunch of things. So ton was one shape, for example. That's the quarter note, right? And then I could move the quarter note by a 16th note over. So, you know, every single time. So I have lots of options there. But I want to show you a really simple, accessible shape that I love working with. And then, for example, how to use that to improvise. I got to keep an eye on the time because I got courses. But I got the rhythm course today in an hour. And theory. Okay, here we go. So, for example, one of my shapes is weed whacker, weed whacker, weed whacker, weed whacker. So what I do, you know, is, for example, to give you one of those shapes, and we will repeat it over and over. For example, that could be a drill. And we will lay it over a music theory shape. And what that starts doing is it starts getting you very simply, because this is fairly accessible. This is a faster tempo. So if you have technique issues, don't worry, we can slow it down. But if you start just getting used to this idea, I have a shape on the fretboard. I know there are a lot of my students here. What is this shape called? It's D minor, D minor pentatonic. I give things goofy names because then they stick. So what is the name of this D minor pentatonic shape? Oh, J.E., you're so sweet. J.E. says, Ariana Cab, you are easily the most awesome instructor ever. James, I miss you guys. He used to be my neighbor, and he's a fabulous bass player. Holy cow. Post where you're playing, J.E., Bay Area, Yoshi's. You can find this guy all over the place. Fabulous bass player. Oh, thank you, Rob. Big boot, little boot. There is a big box, little box. Very close, very close. DJ, mystery man. So there's boots. There's an upside down boot and a right side up boot, and then there's two boxes, and then there's a weird one. So that's one way to keep it all straight. This one is big box, little box. So you were very close. You were just conflating two different ones. So big box, little box, right? I call it little box because 1-4-1-4, big box, and then this is the little box. A very accessible shape. There are many ways how to play pentatonics. We do all this in my pattern system. You can play it diagonally. You can play it on just 2 strings. There are many, many, many ways how you can do that. But there's a really nice, accessible shape. We don't have to shift. We don't have to think about anything. We can just go weed, whacker, weed, whacker, weed. And then you just do the weed, whacker, 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 weed, whacker. What that does is it just gets you used to that rhythmic shape using that pentatonic box. So that's one thing I'd like to invite you to try. Another thing that I'm just fascinated with is how rhythms change, how each of these shapes change depending on what comes after. For example, if I have a rhythm like I'm gonna do. All right, y'all guess for me, and my rhythm students, feel free to put the word in there, but I'm gonna do polytonic, polytonic, polytonic. And that's not a shuffle, by the way. A shuffle is ternary, right? Kind of like. That's 1, 2, 3, right? Gamma, that's 3. So you don't want to mix this up. This is 16th note based. So the feeling is a little bit similar, but just that shape. Yeah, we can work with accents too. Hey, Dave. Good to see you. Do you accent certain syllables is what DJ Mystery Man is asking. Yes, that is something we can work with then as well. That's also advanced stuff, but absolutely. Because you can make rhythms very cool by giving them odd accents, like unexpected accents, which is kind of what syncopation does. But I lost my train of thought. Oh, okay. I wanted to ask you what that shape is. How would you write that? Right now, I'm playing it followed by a rest, right? I'll give it away. Somebody dotted 8th and 16th. Bravo, Chip. Yes, that's it. Well done. So, it's a dotted 8th and a 16th. So out of the polytonic, which syllables am I playing when I play this? Polytonic, 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 polytonic. Oops. Polytonic, 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 polytonic. So I'm playing the what? The what and the what? Out of the polytonic, polytonic, polytonic. Because the first is a dotted 8th, which means it has the value of 3/16, right? Polytonic. I call that bump, ba-dum, ba-dum. That works. Sometimes if you're learning a rhythm and just come up with a goofy saying or lyrics, sometimes really help. So ponic, polytonic. Yes, exactly. It's the first one and the last one of the 4 options that I have, right? Polytonic, 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 polytonic. And this one is an interesting one because whenever you have something on the nick, which is the 1 E and it feels like a ramp or a pickup into the next one. So I want to put your attention to it. I'm going to play it again with the track. I'm going to slow it down a little bit because I want to make sure you all hear that. So now I'm going to combine it. What I did a bunch now is loop it with itself, right? But I want to put your attention to what happens if I just combine it with a rest. Because then it feels like the nick and you fall into a hole. Right? Just pay attention to what this feels like in your body. And if you have dancers on the dance floor, you would see the difference between whatever comes after that shape. If after that shape comes a rest, you see bodies going into the hole because we got to feel that downbeat, right? If there is a downbeat, it'll look different. Watch. So here we go. Y'all can hear the track, right? Polytonic, polytonic, polytonic. I'm going to play the shape. Po, nick. I call it mega, by the way. It's the same that starts happy birthday, so that's a shape we got to work with, and then I'm going to fall into a rest right after it. So I'm combining the shape with the rest. Polytonic, 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 polytonic. So I fall into a hole, right? For some people, it's really hard to not pull that nick on the beat. That would be wrong, okay? I see that happening sometimes. You just need to know. Polytonic. That's not working. You feel that? Polytonic, polytonic, polytonic. Polytonic, rest. Polytonic, fall into the hole. Polytonic, fall into the hole, right? So that is one way how you can feel it. The nick is the hole, and the nick and then the hole, right? It almost feels like there's a ramp and then you fall, right? Now I'm going to have the ramp go somewhere. Now I'm going to have the ramp go straight to the downbeat, and I'm going to follow it with ton, which is the downbeat on the one, just the quarter note, if you will, which is the po. So polytonic po is what I'm going to play now. And then when you add pitches, it's a whole different story too. Polytonic po, polytonic po, right? Now all of a sudden it feels like the nick is a ramp into the po. Thank you. So I'm not longer falling into a hole. I jump on something. Polytonic po, polytonic po, right? So the goal is the po, not empty, right? And I know a lot of people struggle with that because they just want to do something on the downbeat. We're so hardwired with that in many ways. Play the root, downbeat, downbeat. And to not do something can be very, very hard for some people. So we just tease that out, shine a light on that problem, do a bunch of practice with polytonics and po and goofy words and moving about with it, and it helps. Any questions about any of that? Funk 101. That reminds me of a Bobby Vega groove. Oh, yeah. Yep, and those rhythmic holes can even be cooler when some other instrument fills the hole. Right. Somebody else picks up the slack. Gotta go, geez, thanks for checking in, Rob. See ya. So you have typical problems that have typical fixes. Just be aware of the subdivision, make the subdivision clear in your body, feel it in your body, pull it in your body, do little, drills where you just isolate it and shine a light on those. We do that with all 16 rhythms. And man, it's helpful. It's also really helpful for reading. And whether you read or not, it is helpful to understand what you're doing. If you could write it out, you have much more accuracy, So there was a bunch more stuff that I wanted to do, but I think I gotta shut it down. But one thing, for example, that's a really fun thing to do. You all know the chicken, right? At least in theory, you might know it. So you know the rhythm has a certain feel to it, right? And let's say you're gonna learn it, just the rhythm, and then lay that rhythm over a track. Like, for example, I'm gonna use D minor. Right, that's the rhythm. And here's another trick. when you're trying to learn a tune like the chicken, or try to really transcribe it, meaning you take the pen to the paper or go on finale, even though I think there's a time for using pen and paper, because then you actually have to figure out if you added a note or added a rest, because that happens in the beginning a lot in those programs. They will always make it a nice 4/4 for you. So if you messed up, it'll fix it, quote unquote, for you. It'll fix it so it doesn't, the universe breaks if you have a 4/4 bar and there's a 16th note missing. It's like dividing by 0. You can't do that. So the programs like Finale, Sibelius, MuseScore. MuseScore is free. I love using it, but I know there's Guitar Pro and some others. Note Flight. So there are lots of programs out there. I love MuseScore. It's free and it plays a lot of bells and whistles by now. And you can, it helps you, it helps the universe not break by adding a little rest, or defaulting to some note that's there, and prevents the worst errors. But the worst errors that are actually really good to make is when you try to transcribe something and then afterwards you count it out and there's a 16th note missing, or there's one too many, and then you immediately know it's wrong. So you will correct yourself, and making errors in that way is a wonderful learning path. We don't do that anymore because we always like fixated on, getting the tab or comparing it with the right thing. But man, I'm such a big fan of making mistakes, because if you get it wrong, and why did I do it wrong? Oh, that's why. Oh, I added a note. Oh, that can't work. What did I do? And that is just such a great drill. But here, the last thing I'll do, I'm gonna. This is the rhythm of the chicken. Just laid over that track, and I'm just noodling around. I take that rhythm and just lay it over a different context. I hear the subdivision, different tempo, different shape, and I know what the shapes look like. Right? I was planning on showing you, but we're running out of time. And then you can take that and, get it into your body. Once again, getting it into your body, getting it into your body. That's where it's at. All right, my friends. Got a rhythm class starting 17th of March. It's going to be on Thursdays around this time. I believe level 1 is at noon Central, so 10 a.m. Pacific, and level 2 is going to continue on in the same time slot they've had for the last 10 weeks. We're going to be doing a lot of practice. A lot of people found it quite tough. Fear not. You're not expected to nail this right away. We'll do lots more practice. You will see in our final event today. We'll have a lot of fun. And so this is starting. And if you'd like to sign up, below is the link. I will post it once more. And here comes the link. So you have both pages on there. I hope that's going to Facebook as well. Yes, it is. You're welcome, guys. You're welcome, guys. Hey, Dave, thanks for tuning in. Love seeing all my friends, students, course participants on here. That's awesome. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, if you take nothing else from this session, tune yourself to the subdivision before you start. Polytonic, 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 polytonic. Make sure it's straight. If it's a swing, you're going to have a problem. But there's different words and all that. But you want to just tune yourself. And then when you have the subdivision, the groove is yours. All right. I hope I see many of you in my class. 17th of March, it's starting. RESpaceblock.com/practice-groups-REs-rhythm-matrix. And if you didn't catch it, here it is once more. All right, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Class ends.